The story opens with a young woman named Aubrey Parker attending her friend Grace Ross's funeral. She's emotionally rattled by the loss, and her thoughts drift to random memories, especially one of a night on the beach with a man. During the service, she's unable to focus on the conversations around her. The sight of Grace's widower, Mark, makes Aubrey feel sick. Overcome, she tries to quietly slip away. Just as she does, a group of mourners surround her. One of them recognizes her, and the others appear thrilled to see her. Aubrey remains silent, pushing past them without engaging. A woman then steps forward, introducing herself as Alice, one of Grace's cousins from England. Alice reacts with surprise upon hearing Aubrey's name. She hadn't realized how close she and Grace had been. Spotting Aubrey inching toward the exit again, Alice mentions a letter from Grace. She shares that Grace had become fixated on a particular rhythm recently and always said that Aubrey would understand it. Rather than return home, Aubrey heads to Grace's restaurant, the Golden Gourd. Using a stick, she slides the key through a narrow opening, grabs it, and enters the quiet kitchen. She walks into the dining area, soaking in every detail like she's reliving memories. Pouring herself a drink, she sips and grimaces, speaking aloud as if Grace were present. Aubrey wonders how she ever grew fond of that drink. She feeds the fish in the aquarium and a turtle named Bellini. She then heads to the upstairs living area where Grace used to stay. A telescope is positioned by the window, pointed toward a nearby couple's home. Aubrey chuckles at the thought of Grace spying on her neighbors. She decides to stay the night, puts on some music, and showers before facing the empty bedroom. A radio beside the bed emits static, as if someone might be trying to reach her. She lies down, picks up the radio, says her name, and attempts to make contact. Nothing answers but the hiss of static. Unable to fall asleep, she flicks the light switch on and off repeatedly until she senses Grace's presence. She imagines her lying next to her. Unsettled, she moves to the couch and distracts herself by thinking about the couple next door. But the beach memory creeps back in, disturbing her peace. Still restless, she calls her mother. They talk briefly about the funeral, and her mother urges her to come visit soon. Suddenly, the line is filled with interference, and they can no longer hear each other. Aubrey says she can't hear anything, wishes her mom a happy new year, and ends the call. When sleep finally comes, she's plagued by a horrific nightmare. A man named Edward sits with his back to her. When she calls his name, he turns slowly, revealing a gaping void where his face should be. Aubrey wakes in terror, shivering. The heater seems to have gone out. Outside, snow is falling. The streets are eerily deserted. In the distance, smoke rises above the trees. The Christmas lights she'd plugged in the night before are now dark, and the TV won't power on. It could be a simple outage, but the landline's also dead. She puts on a jacket and heads out back to start the emergency generator. A sudden noise from the street startles her. Something is clearly off in the neighborhood. She checks the restaurant's front door from outside, but sees nothing unusual. Once inside, she locks up again. Then, out of nowhere, someone slams against the glass door, banging as if begging for help or warning her. Before she can react, the person vanishes. Aubrey runs outside in pursuit, but loses track of them after a few blocks. Now she's certain something terrible has happened. Smoke rises from between houses. Cars sit abandoned, angled in strange positions. Debris and dark red stains mar the snowy ground. Following the blood-like trail, she reaches an empty car with the door wide open and red smears on the window. At a nearby corner, she looks to the side and freezes. A creature slowly rises, letting out a horrifying, gurgling sound. Aubrey flees, crashing through windows. People inside their homes watch her. The creature reaches the restaurant door just after she slams it shut behind her. It growls from the other side. Shaking with fear, Aubrey crawls under the tables and hides behind the counter, listening as the monster paces outside. The glass begins to crack. Then, a man's voice calls her name over the radio. She fumbles under the counter and finds a radio. The man starts giving her directions. He tells her to close her eyes and aim the radio at the door. With no time to ask questions, she obeys. He insists she get up and walk toward the door, radio in hand, eyes still shut. As she moves forward, the pounding softens, then stops. The only sound left is a strange frequency from the radio. When she opens her eyes, the creature is gone. She collapses, breathless. The voice returns, telling her to go upstairs and lock the door. Then, without warning, the utensils in the room begin floating. Trying to stay calm, Aubrey focuses on the voice and demands to know how he knew her name. The man claims to be a friend of Grace's and says all of this is connected to her. Aubrey asks how the creature vanished. He confirms that the radio emitted a specific signal to drive it away. He tells her Grace discovered something, and the first piece of it is right there in the house. Her curiosity turns to alarm when he says others are at risk, but nothing can be done for them. Frustrated, she becomes more anxious when he tells her to end the call. She wonders if she's dead and trapped in some kind of hell. That's when she notices an envelope on a shelf, addressed to her in Grace's handwriting. Inside is a cassette labeled, "This recording will save the world." She plays it. Grace's voice begins narrating the story of a group that found a secret signal in a radio broadcast. Grace joined their mission to uncover more. They discovered multiple signals, each timed with disastrous events. All were connected, but one was still missing, the seventh. Fearing the wrong people might find the tapes, Grace hid them in familiar places she and Aubrey had visited, masking their locations with music. As she listens, Aubrey has a vision. She's in the woods, surrounded by alien sounds. She picks up a rock for protection, then snaps out of the vision, back in the restaurant. Struck with urgency, she tears a poster from the wall, exposing a hidden compartment. Inside, she finds several notebooks. As she studies them, the radio crackles. The man is calling again. He introduces himself as Alfred and urges her to handle the transmissions with extreme caution. Everything suggests the signal might be capable of opening a portal. It was through such a portal that the creatures appeared the previous night, although the signal itself seems to frighten them as well. Aubrey inquires if there are any other survivors. Alfred admits that a few might still be in hiding. He confesses that he doesn't have all the answers and isn't even sure where the signal originated. It's possible that it's been broadcasting for centuries, sent by some expanding civilization waiting for the right moment to activate. As Alfred speaks, Aubrey gradually realizes that everything he's describing is already written in her notes. When he finishes, she quietly says that she always imagined what it would be like to see the Earth completely deserted. Just buildings and nature, no people, no noise. Alfred finds her comment unsettling and pleads with her to continue Grace's work. But Aubrey simply shuts off the radio. Coming to terms with the fact that she might be stuck there for a while, she organizes her belongings and begins to settle in. She seems more composed, though a rope tied like a noose hangs ominously from the ceiling above. To avoid staring into emptiness during sleepless nights, she tapes a cheerful drawing to the ceiling above her bed. That night, she wakes up to see one of the alien creatures looming over her. She lashes out in terror until she realizes it was only a dream. She's actually hitting the wall. Eventually, her supplies start to dwindle. Speaking to the turtle, now her only companion, she mentions the water is running out too. She now faces a decision, whether to give in to the paranoia that consumed Alfred and Grace. She replays the old tape, piecing together more information. Grace had built a machine to interpret the signal. The project only worked once the infection had already affected her. That first night, Aubrey stayed in the house, likely set off the chain reaction. At last, overcoming her fear of leaving, Aubrey takes the turtle and the battery-powered recorder, ready to use the signal in case of an alien encounter. Wearing a fur covering, she retraces her steps through familiar homes. Now, no figures appear in the windows, but blood smears the glass. Her first stop is the local grocery store, where she searches for more provisions. Under one of the shelves, she discovers the third tape. On her way out, she notices blood on the ground leading to the freezer. Inside, she finds a body frozen stiff, clearly dead for several days. Outside, large monoliths have mysteriously appeared, and many buildings are in ruins. A strange gurgling sound catches her attention. She ducks behind a car and watches a creature moving inside through the glass. Panic rises, and she drops the recorder in her rush to escape, but manages to retrieve it just before the creature can reach her. She dives into a deserted car and plays the signal as the alien violently rocks the vehicle. Curled up in the front seat, she slips into a surreal vision of a world much like hers, only full of monsters behind her. Like the dream with Edward, she once again sees a child with his back turned, a gaping void where his face should be. The dream shifts underwater, seaweed entangling her and pulling her deeper into the darkness. Then she wakes beneath the car. The alien is gone. She gathers her items and resumes her journey to the places she and Grace once shared. At the cinema, she sits in her usual seat and pulls out the fourth tape hidden beneath a cushion. After exiting the theater, she sees a massive, glowing creature gliding past, its skin shimmering with iridescent colors. Though afraid, she's mesmerized by its beauty and watches until it's safe to move again. As night falls, she arrives at the library, only to find the doors locked. She smashes a window and enters, navigating the stacks with a glow stick. The stick dims, and she hurriedly activates another just as she nearly collides with a creature. It doesn't seem to notice her. She crawls back, finds the recorder, and hits play, continuing her search. She finds a fifth tape tucked inside a study room box. That night, she sleeps among the books. In her dream, Grace appears, accusing her of breaking down mentally and detaching from reality. In tears, Aubrey admits she regrets not being with Grace at the end. Grace tells her that self-forgiveness is essential, and she must confront what happened that night on the beach. Later, Aubrey sees books levitating around her and can't tell whether it's real or a hallucination. Suddenly, voices from a film crew bring her back. She's now in the library mezzanine, wearing headphones. A clapperboard labeled Starfish is visible. Below, people discuss scenes, and one of them looks exactly like Aubrey. The shock that she might only be a character in a film jolts her awake. She rips off the headphones and finds herself back in the library. The final tapes guide her to more locations, ending at the beach. There, she sees a version of herself walking toward a man waiting in the sea. The present day Aubrey tries to stop her past self, but stumbles. Edward is sitting nearby, crying. She tries to talk, but can't produce any sound. Frustrated, she shoves the other man, who's now morphing into a creature, into the water. Back at the library, she's overwhelmed and decides that's enough tapes for now. As she keeps moving, she again encounters the strange creature from before. It collapses, its outer layer tearing open to reveal another creature inside. Aubrey quietly observes as it floats away, clutching her recorder. The sun begins to rise. She passes by Grace's grave before heading to the radio tower. The sixth tape is hidden behind a photo of Ori and a colleague. Knowing this is her final stop, she plays all 6 tapes in order, broadcasting their combined signal in the hope of changing something. When the last tape finishes, she states her name and waits anxiously. A boy's voice soon answers. Ori is relieved to hear another person and explains she followed Grace's instructions exactly. The signals were broadcast in sequence, which should have closed the portal. But the boy tells her she made a mistake. She didn't understand what she was transmitting. Instead of sealing the passage, she opened a new one. Aubrey doesn't seem to hear him. She notices that the tape labels spell out forget and forgive. Outside, between 2 monoliths, a vast dome starts to form. Ori walks toward it as the boy repeatedly calls her name, growing more concerned as she stops responding. Reaching the dome, she sees floating chunks of mud suspended in the air. Allowing herself to be drawn in, she vanishes into the force, her memories slowly fading as she drifts away.